Welcome to Chit Chat with Shay. Today I'm joined by Malene Grotrian of Malene Grotrian Designs and her brand ambassador, Donna Pepin. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, just to give you a little background information on how I met these two beautiful ladies, I got the chance to go to one of their fundraising events, and it was in support for OVCARE, which is BC's Ovarian Cancer Research Program, and it was a lovely event. You can't get any better in terms of fashion and fun and music, and these lovely ladies put together an absolutely wonderful event.
But you have a reputation for throwing a great party.
You definitely superseded my expectations, for sure. So just to get more information on who you are and what you guys love to do, Malene, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a fashion designer and artist. I'm born and raised in Denmark, and I came to Canada now 10 years ago to pursue a career in fashion. I have always known that I wanted to be a fashion designer since I was very, very young. I believe I'm 6 or 7, and the teachers ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I just knew that I wanted to be a designer, and I knew I wanted to have my own business. And yeah, it was probably quite abnormal, but I thought, who doesn't know what they want to be? And I knew I made a lot of my decisions very easy along the way. So also when I had an opportunity to come and work for a tailor in Ottawa, it was a no-brainer to say, yeah, absolutely, those would be the skills that I would want to need to have my own business. So I came to Canada just for a 1-month internship in the beginning, and then I got offered a job. And she said, when you graduate, come back and work for me. And I thought, wow, what a great experience. And 10 years later, I'm still here. And so, yeah, I worked in fashion in 10 years and had my own business for about 6 years. Met Donna 4 years ago now.
Something like
ish. Through the ovarian cancer fundraiser for ovarian cancer. And Donna tell her own story. She's a survivor and was a model in the show and connected at that time, and down the road became my brand ambassador. But Donna can tell her own story.
Donna, that's an amazing thing to be a survivor of ovarian cancer. So I take it that's where your philanthropic philosophy comes in, because you want to give back and you want to be aware and you want to make the community aware of, this type of disease. Tell us.
Well, I think just sort of, I think having been an ovarian cancer patient is now indelibly sort of etched into my psyche. I consider it actually to be a great gift in my life, because it definitely changed my life. It changed my perspective, it changed the way I live, it changed everything about me, I think, in a good way. Of course, I'm very grateful, but I'm very, very aware of the realities of the disease, and I'm very aware of how fortunate I am and how lucky I am to have been one of the few women that survives the disease, or has survived the disease rather. And for that reason, I am very motivated to share my story. I think it's important as women that we care for one another in every way we can and support one another. And the common denominator for everyone that talked to me when I was going through treatment for the disease and afterwards, every woman pretty much asked me the same question, and that was, how did you know? How did you know you had the disease? What are the symptoms of the disease? No one knows anything about ovarian cancer, and for that reason alone, it was important for me to get involved in educating women and creating awareness around the disease in an effort to hopefully increase survivorship. I just think that's very important, and yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, and thank you for sharing your story. So in terms of getting ready for these types of events, how do you prepare?
Tears and sweat. How do you prepare? I think first you start out with a vision. You want to do something that's spectacular and different, and you want to make a difference. I think it's the motivator. It's not we want to make a fashion show, we want to make a difference. And I think that's why when you attended the event, and we've had some fantastic, incredible feedback from this last show, and I think it really had the heart in there. It wasn't just a fashion show, it was actually an event where you were to meet the physicians, you were to hear the stories, you were to connect with the artists that had donated the piece of art. It was connection, and it was meaningful. and going down to, well, what was the product? It was clothing coming down on a runway, but it wasn't. It was real women that was walking the runway. We had a woman that had given birth, was it 2 or 4 months earlier?
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah, it was the first night she was away from her baby boy. Yeah. And I think, yeah, it was 3 months.
3 months in, and of course, you know, a fuller and natural, beautiful body and a stunning woman.
We were so proud to have someone like that.
It felt like an honor, you know, that she would just, you know, own this mother figure, and it was beautiful. It couldn't have been any better. And we had a few women that actually came up afterwards and saying, "Wow, you just allowed us all to feel beautiful," and that was from the audience. And I thought, well, what's the difference from having a runway show where why would you not feel beautiful because you don't feel that you're good enough? So on the contrary, yeah, we're showing clothing, but the evening had so many more elements. So how do you create that? I don't think we anticipated it. You know, we wanted to put on a great event that would make a difference, but you can't. It also comes from the people that attend the event. You come because you want to be there. You can't. Two people can't put on something that is not intended for everyone. So it was the community.
We realized that afterwards. I remember having that conversation because it was so, the feedback and the energy that came back to us from that night just felt beautiful, and the experience that people had who attended the event, it was all amazing for everyone. And we realized afterwards that I think the reason why that happened is that everyone that was involved in creating that event came with the same intention, and everyone came because they cared.
Malene, the inspiration for your fashion line is the modern everyday woman. Can you tell us what motivated you to create a line for the everyday woman?
Well, I think the everyday woman to me is essentially a woman. So whatever woman you are that day, I think as women we are it all. We are daughters, mothers, sisters, we're career, we are homebodies. So for me, it's about designing for that woman, where it's about versatility. That's why you'll see a lot of the designs. You can drape it, you can make it your own, you can make it fancy, you can dress it up, you can dress it down. So really that giving the uniqueness of dressing, just giving that as a tool to the woman, so you can play with it. And consider again, however way you dress, it's like you're allowed to have fun with it. And we have a few clients that come in and says, you know, almost they need a permission. Can I put this together? Absolutely. Have fun with it and make it your own. And I love when clients come back and they come up with their own. But really the versatility comes from that.
In terms of when it comes to your line, Donna, can you tell us why women and men love her line so much?
Well, I think Malene touched on that, and how I have understood her philosophy of design, and her inspiration, as I understand it, has always been the female form. And I've witnessed now countless numbers of women coming into the studio boutique in a range of sizes, whether that person is a size 2 or a size 16 or 18, because, you know, as women we run the gamut in every way. But there's one reaction that almost every woman has when they try on Malene Grotrian for the first time, and that is that they feel beautiful, and that the clothing fits like nothing else they've ever had before, particularly women that are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, because our bodies change as we go through life, and things don't fit the same way, and a lot of women find it, quite frankly, shopping for clothing to be an exercise in humility, where they try on countless garments that just don't look good or they don't feel good in them, and it's just not a fun thing to do. And so to witness how beautiful and amazing people feel when they come in here and they put on a garment that wraps around their curves, it literally embraces their body, gives them an experience that they, unlike no other. It's interesting that men really have a reaction to Malene's clothing, like they really love it, and I think a lot of it is, again, because men love women's well, most men love women's bodies and the curves and the shape of women's bodies, and Malene's I think sculptural approach to design, where she'll take a piece of fabric and just sort of wrap it around her body or my body or a mannequin's body, just to see, you know, what does that fabric want to do? What is the energy that it has? How does that work? And I think men really appreciate a woman's body being framed or embraced in her designs. And I think that it shows a woman's body better than a lot of other designs do. And I think
there's a practicality that they appreciate too, that they can understand from men's wardrobe being separates, right? They don't wear dresses, or most men. So again, by having piecework, you know, a pant or a jacket and a shirt and different ties, you have a multiple of a wardrobe by just mixing it together in different ways. That's very much the concept of my line, and the collections being building blocks in one another. And I think they really appreciate that. There's just a more of a practical, I get it. You can put this together, you know, it's, and it works, right? So this I can understand. Whereas the sequin dress, it's like, it's not practical. Why would you want it? But that's, I think, there's a logic to it that they can understand. And like Donna said, I've had a few men come up after a fashion show and say, I'm not the guy that shops for my wife, but I'm sending my wife, I'm bringing her, I'm gonna come with her. Like, get actually excited. It's cute. It is very adorable, and it actually is. There must be something that they get. And I've had, I don't know how many men actually come up and say, can you design this jacket for men? So I think there's also something around the textures, as well as the structure that I like. I'm not a little, you know, I don't do bow, you know, very girly dresses. Like, I still do something very feminine and strong, I think. So there's also that strong female appeal that appeals to them, I think.
When you established your boutique in 2008, and then you were asked to showcase your pieces at the 2009 New York Fashion Week, what was that experience like for you?
It was out of my comprehension. Like, I believe even in the process of being approached, I never really fathomed it, and the process of getting a phone call was just in a busy moment, and I'll get back to you. And I didn't fathom it. I just didn't really get it until at the time I talked to my marketing manager, and she was screaming at me. And I was like, I guess this is big. And I didn't know what New York Fashion Week was, but it wasn't really, who knows what was going through my mind. But yeah, I think I had all the complexes that everyone would possibly have when you start out. I can't possibly be New York Fashion Week. I just started my line, like, who am I? And I'm not ready. I'm not, you know, I was nervous back then. I did not do this, and my website is not up, and I don't have a large enough collection and everything. And again, I had an amazing group of women that just pretty much said, we're doing it.
Do you think you'd be willing to do something like that again?
New York Fashion Week? You know what, I've been asked to go back to New York, had opportunity to go to London Fashion Week, but in terms of how I developed my business, I really developed it on a Vancouver base. I don't wholesale. We sell directly out of here. It's all limited quantities. So you can, as a fashion designer, you can be very tempted to say yes to doing. I'm so glad I did New York, because there was a snowball, as I mentioned. However, in terms of building your business, you would want to go there to build those markets up. And it is highly expensive. So I've talked to a few young designers that come out and just believe, you know, if you make it to those shows, it's the caliber of whether you made it or not. And it is not true. And I do really want to stretch it, because you can so easily get caught up in, I must be at these shows to make it. It is a money-making machine, unfortunately, too. And if you get caught up in thinking, I must be there, and it's tapping out your bank, you might not. That might be the determining factor that you might not make it. So whether you go in with one show and you make your mark, that might sometimes be what you need. By pursuing it further, just for the sake of having a fashion show, it might not be how you'll be able to establish a line. So for me, I really saw that, and I saw, I want to focus on the women that are here. I want to have a business. I want to be in business, you know, as long as I want to be in business, but I certainly don't want to be tanked on just having to do big shows. I want to do meaningful shows. So that's how we got involved with charity, and how can you actually make a difference with the shows. You do have an entertainment element with fashion shows. How do you gather people? How do you give back? How do you get yourself involved with other organizations that might need this component? So it's not just about a product and marketing. It's about building community with this little fun element that's the fashion part.
But it depends on what your business objective is as well. If you're looking
Absolutely.
to take a line to market, if you're looking to market nationally or globally, then that's a different level.
It is,
Perhaps
yeah.
that type of promotion is necessary once you reach a certain caliber. But is it actually going to get you somewhere in the beginning? Is what's important in the beginning?
Now, you just announced that you're actually closing up shop for your fashion line and embarking on your second love, which is your artwork, which is sitting in the middle of. And I guess, what's your inspiration behind your art?
Well, interestingly enough, I think the world that we're in is naturally our inspiration, and it certainly is for me. And I think I've been in the world of women and the female body, and that's many times how I start. I actually will start out with a fashion sketch of a woman, and then the way I would start to design a piece of clothing, I will start to dress her and just develop shapes and forms. And in the art, you'll sometimes see less of the female form at the end. And in other paintings, like the one behind us here, it's more obvious. So that's a given for me, even as almost like my go-to place. It's like whether it's probably it's still that kind of celebration, because I just think it's such a beautiful. There's nothing more magical than just even the philosophy of we're here. We're a being that is we're nurturing life, we're giving life. Like it's quite beautiful when you think of it, and again, all of what goes into each shape and organ of our body. And then I think by the nature of it, I'm quite drawn to textures, and so some of the textures in the paintings will symbolize the materials, or whether it's even a fathomable fabric. Is it real or unreal? And it becomes a completely different world in that. So I live up on the Sea to Sky Highway up in Squamish near Whistler, and am naturally surrounded by mountains and water and beautiful sky and whatnot. So I have a lot of like nature elements in my paintings as well. And for me, kind of how I start the fashion line, it's not, I don't have an idea before I start it. I just start with almost like picking the fabrics. It's almost like you're picking the painting. But I don't go into it with this collection needs to have this theme, or I really just start the process of just relaxing, and just like how you would start running, well, you start with one foot in front of the other. You don't necessarily know where you're going with it, and it's letting the process evolve. And I feel that some of the best work come from really just having don't have the intention behind it, and just see where you're creating. And I think you're naturally just diving into that to your subconsciousness, which is just are you subconscious?
Subconscious mind.
Subconscious mind, thank you very much. And you couldn't have predicted what comes out. And the same thing with the designs, by just playing. And what is the saying again? Creativity can't exist with the judgment.
That's right. You can't be creative
with judgment.
Yeah.
So again, taking judgment away and just creating. I think that's really when you create something that's original, and that's been my philosophy. Creating clothing or painting. I do a lot of work. I will go in and I'll meditate before I start painting to literally just get my own layers away, or get myself out of my way, and just being in the process. And I think that's why the paintings also has a lot of depth to them.
Yes.
The more you stand and look at them, they'll reveal more and more images and layers, and that I feel I can actually go deeper with the paintings, where with the clothing that I do, it's it's still a product in the sense where when you go into pure color, it just has a third dimension that I'm quite drawn to.
Well, no, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you,
A
Sherry.
pleasure.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Me neither. Let's see where it all ends up.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You're welcome.